Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the Tanso Racing Group Season 9 of the GR86 class car. Now, Tanso have had many fantastic seasons in this vehicle, and they continue to bring us more fantastic action within the Toyota class as well. And, well, I welcome you all to that, to join me live here around the Rudskogen Motor Centre, a fantastic track filled with lots of twists and turns and lots of opportunities for these guys to get their overtakes done and to get some side-by-side battles going on as well. Now, it's the start of the season, so we do not have any points to bring to you. However, I am happy to sit here and just quickly go over that the league sponsors for this season is Aqua Twist, and they are sponsoring the Season 9 of the Tanso Racing Group GR86s. So, a fantastic sponsor for them there as well. Now, let's go and get straight in to what we have coming up ahead of us then. So we do have two races, a reverse grid of top 6. Now that is going to be critical to get within that top 6 for these drivers, and they will do so no doubt very soon as we jump down towards what is going on track. And you can see here they're coming up to the end of practice. All times are very close together, and I'll give you a few more details as the session rolls on about this up and coming season. It's very fascinating, and it is a great place for you to start your league racing as well. Obviously a fantastic opportunity for both those newer drivers amongst us and for the experienced veterans that may have been around a few times around the block. And fantastic opportunity to also earn some silverware. So let's jump over with a familiar name to the broadcast. That is Mr. Daniel Wareham. Now, he has been around the block definitely a few times. As you can see, freshly out the shower there in the bottom left corner of your screens, you'll see probably some wacky logos and some fantastic ones at the same time. So that will all be good to see with their profile pictures. So let's talk a bit about the colours in the top left corner. They are split up by class. Obviously the red is the AMs, the yellow is the Pro-Ams, and the blue is the Pros. So there's 3 classes for these drivers to really try and get themselves in the mix for their classes and get the maximum points as well to reach the ranks that they truly deserve. So all those AMs will be looking to try and get that promotion into Pro-Ams, Pro-Ams into Pro, and then Pro to be the top dog and win those races, be the Max Verstappen of the Tanso Racing Group. Now that's going to be a very tricky challenge, no doubt, and I'm sure we'll be in for a lot of good treats here just as we finish off the last few minutes of the practice session. Now, if you bear with me a few moments, what I will do is I will quickly go and grab the details for this series. So there is 8 races, and obviously the first one is kicking off here tonight live with you on Rudskogen Motor Centre. We do have 38 drivers in total signed up. We have 24 out on track at the moment. Looks like we will be settling for 24 for the race, which is a fantastic turnout for round 1 as well. Now the key thing to remember is the damage is turned off on this series as well, so it gives these drivers a full chance of still getting a fantastic position, even if there's a few bits of bumping and scraping going on the circuit. Now, there are prizes to be given away in this series as well, and I will go into details with that with you very soon. There's a £5 entry fee, so if you want to get yourselves involved, it simply costs £5 Great British pounds, and you can get involved in this fantastic group with some great races. So if you do have that money spare in your pockets, put it towards the league, get yourselves involved, and come down and have some fun with all the people out there tonight. There are going to be some familiar faces that you guys have seen no doubt many times over, and there are also going to be some new faces as well that you may not have seen as much, but I'll tell you what, nonetheless, it's going to bring some interesting racing and some fantastic maybe slips, trips, and possibly falls along the way. So all excitement coming up here. So let's talk a bit on I ratings in terms of where these drivers have been placed. So the pros are 3 K iRating or upwards, so they are the quick of the quick. And then the Pro-Ams are between the 1.5K to the 3K iRating, and the AMs are from 0 to 1.5K. So if you don't know what an iRating is, it is a rating number that the simulator, known as iRacing, will give you, and it will give you this number basically based on where you finish in the official races that you're put into. You're put into splits of drivers with similar skill level to you, so see iRating as a skill level, and the better you finish in these races, the higher that number goes, and you just keep pushing on to your limit, and yeah, just keep trying to grow. Sometimes you'll lose, sometimes you'll gain big, sometimes you'll lose big. It all depends on how the race goes, so that's where it's placed these drivers in their classes. Now, it will be a standing start for tonight as well, but let's bring the format. So obviously you can see we're coming up to the end of a 30-minute practice session. Then we have a 3-lap lone qualify session. So what that means is these cars will be going out for the laps on their own. They won't see the other cars on track with them, but you will see the cars going around solo on their own and getting the full potential, and potentially that critical time that they need to set themselves high up on that podium if possible, so they won't have to worry about colliding with any other vehicles. So 3 laps they have to get the job done. Now then, what we'll do is we'll go into the first race, and that is a 20-minute race, so 20 minutes of action in the GR86 series, then followed up by a 25-minute race. So they have an extra 5 minutes and a reverse grid of the top 6 as well. So there's a lot to take in there, I know, but with that extra 5 minutes, those drivers could really make something special happen, because the top 6 will be reversed, and that will give the chance to those drivers that may not finish on that podium in the first race to try and clinch it in the second. And who knows, that could bring some drivers closer together, you know, the speedy ones that are being held up by the rest. Yeah, it may cause some hairy situations and possibly some collisions as well, so something to also keep your eye out in the future here today. It's a fantastic racing series that we have coming up for you, though. Obviously, it all starts tonight. This is where all the action will be happening, and this is the best place to come and see it as well. Tanso Racing Group YouTube, and well, you know what to do. You've seen YouTube as many times over, and make sure you do hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and share it out with your friends. Anyone that you think might like a bit of racing, get them to jump in and come have a laugh, come have a little watch, and see what's going on. But there we go, you can see we do have the 24 cars out there at the moment, and they'll all be in the pit lane getting ready to do their qualifying, so we'll just wait for all the cars to start going out. And here's one man that's going out straight away in the Terry's chocolate orange livery, going around onto the back straight to start with. And what we'll do as well is we'll bring you up the track map, and you can see exactly where the drivers are. Indeed, you can see coming around into, this is the trickiest corner, because you can see that front right wheel lifting up there into the braking zone and sort of bouncing around as Terry does keep that speed going at quite high rates of speed as well through that long right-hander. It's almost like a double right-hander, but it's going to be tricky into the braking zone downhill, but nails that perfectly, does the number 82, coming around into the sharp left-hander. Again, a slight downhill motion, but if you can get the curve right around the track, you can use that slight camber to your advantage. Now coming down into the right-hand hairpin, into the braking zone, nice and heavy there. You can see the car bowing down, the front of the vehicle really getting close towards the ground, lifting up, and there goes the 82 car. Now round to the final few corners into this sharp left-hander, about a 90-degree corner, maybe a little bit more, as he goes around there into the second left-hander, and then it's the big sweeping right onto the home straight, and that brings off a lap. And what we'll do is we'll jump into the cockpit with Mr. Terry Atkinson, who is kindly going to take us around on a lap. Now, I'm not going to talk over it too much, just sit back and enjoy it, and this is a lap of the lovely Rudskogen Motor Centre. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is a lap of the Rudskogen Motor Centre. Sorry if you thought your screens may have gone a bit off there. It hadn't gone quiet. You hadn't lost me. I was just sitting back and letting you watch what a full lap of the Rudskogen Motor Centre is like on board, thanks to Terry Atkinson, who you can see unfortunately did go a little wide on turn 1 there. So let's jump to the YouTube chat then. Bales, welcome in. Good luck, guys. Thank you very much from on behalf of everyone there. Oh, awesome commentary, man. Thank you very much as well. Atkinson, what, I can't make first race tonight, but we're also 3rd in Europe for GR86 leagues and 6th in World. Oh, okay. That is that's pretty impressive, actually. Bales, I'll be here next week. Well, glad to have you on board next week with us. And look forward to seeing what you could do as well. Now, here's the thing to remember, guys. For all of you watching at home, you can see that all the numbers on the left-hand side of your screen do have colours. Obviously, I went through them earlier, but for anyone that might be joining us now, you do have the Pros in the blue, the Pro-Am in the yellow, and the Ams in the red. So 3 different classes out there tonight, and you will notice that there's one colour that's different from all, and that is green. The green colour is the colour that we're focusing on, so at the minute you can see we are on Terry Atkinson. And I will show you exactly how that all works. We jump to Tom Bland, and, well, there you go. The green has moved from Terry all the way up to Tom in P2 there. Speaking of moving around, this man right here has jumped his way up into P6. Dan Forster has smashed the times and really jumped the queue there. And he moves his way up the field. But you can see on the bottom edge of your screens, we do have the qualifying sectors there. So you'll see that there's 3 sector bars. Obviously, the middle one is rather long. In fact, no, sorry, there's 4, sorry. There's 4 sector bars. And those 4 sector bars are obviously splitting into colours. So green is a slight improvement. Yellow is, I believe, not an improvement or around average. And red is obviously off par or far off or even not counted. And then purple is the one that everyone wants to see, which is the quickest time of the session in terms of sectors. Welcome in, John. How is it going? Car sounds are really quiet. Okay, well, I apologise about that. That could be something on my end, to be fair. Let's have a little look here and see if we can get those 2 come up for you. We can indeed, so you have to let me know what that sounds like now. Hopefully that is a little better. But obviously, if there are any sound or audio quality issues, you have to just let me know. Obviously, we look at different cars throughout the week, so I have to alter different sliders for different vehicles, and the GR86 is a little quieter than some of the other vehicles that I do see throughout the week as well. So that's something that will need tweaking. So fingers crossed you can hear it a little better now, and it's certainly going to get a lot louder when the race is underway as well, because we're going to have all these cars out on the track at once. So this is obviously just one car out on the track at the moment. But with 38 cars signed up and 24 on the grid for today's racing, still going to pose for some good racing. Thought you'd be racing, Dan? Who is Dan? Which one is Dan in the chat? You have to make yourself known. Yeah, like cars anyway. But obviously the commentator's volume is priority. It is indeed. But I still do need to do some slight tweaking though, because obviously you guys want to hear the cars. You want to hear the engines roar as they come through their corners in their battles, and it just adds to the intensity of everything as well. Hearing these cars absolutely screaming through the gears as they come flying around the corners. And you can see there's not much time between the top 3 there. 1.5 tenths between Scott McFall and Tom Bland, and then you got Dan Wareham just behind that. Couple of hundredths away almost from the time of Tom Bland, and well, Raz Harper just in behind again with another amber timing. So you can probably tell from that the yellow times are about half a second or more from the driver in front, and then you have the amber times, which are obviously a lot closer. They'll be half a second or below. And then obviously the white times that sit around 8, I think it's between 8 tenths and a second further away from the cars ahead. And you can see these cars are starting to finish off their laps now. Vincent Vaught is taking a different line through turn 1, and as you can see, the line didn't really work out too well. And this could end qualifying a little earlier than normal, potentially, if everyone completes their laps or sits there and sets it to ready to race. Welcome in, Dan. Thank you very much for joining us. I will apologise now if I sound any sort of form of nasally at all. I am somehow coming down with a cold, even though the weather has been boiling hot over the last few days in the UK. But I guess it's a form of commentator's curse in a way, because I was actually talking about illnesses not too long ago, and typically I've caught one. So yes, apologies if you can hear me clearing my throat or sniffing or anything like that. I'll try and avoid that and try and mute myself. But we all know how easy it is to forget, shall we say. So, yeah, as we wait for the final few seconds to roll out. Yeah, and then we will bring you your grid results for the first race. 20-minute opener race, then followed by a 25-minute race with a 6-car reverse grid. Speaking of your grid, here it is, and Scott McFall leads the way, then Tom Bland just behind that, Dan Wareham just behind with Raz Harper in P4, Mark Brown P5, Neil Kennedy P6, Dan Forster P7, Frederick, I'm not going to pronounce the surname because I might mispronounce it, in P8, Jack Holland in P9, Scott Brown P10, Lee Rylands P11, Peter Duke in P12, then going down to Tim Waters P13, Adrian Hadfield P14, Michael Walters P15, Chris Moore P16, then followed by Jordan Hadfield, Scott Kostrick, Craig Corish, John Johnston, Stuart Briley, Terry Atkinson, Vincent Vaught, and John Kennedy there. So that is your starting grid lineup as we wait for these cars to get out on the grid and ready to go. Here is your start cam from Barney's view. Obviously, just a reminder of the class colours, just in case you missed it. The pros are in the blue, and then you have the pro-ams in the yellow and the ams in the red. So they will be the colours to look out for. There is our leader, Scott McFall, now on the grid. We'll just wait for the last few remaining cars before we get underway here for the opener of the Tanso Racing Group Season 9. About to get underway. Red lights are about to start their sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And we are underway with a great start from your leader there, who doesn't get much wheel spin at all, but then does bog down on the start and almost moves defensive, and straight away we have a car in the wall there on the outside. I apologise, I don't quite know exactly who that is straight away. I think that could be a Dan Wareham there, who's dropped down incredibly fast down the pack. Not too sure what's happened there. It could be more of a system malfunction rather than anything else. But Scott McFall at the minute lost one position to Tom Bland, who's gone through and taken P1 for this race. Let's jump down to Frederick down here then, who is currently in amongst it at the moment. The 222 car, pure matte black, which is a different look to normal. It's not something you see every day on these cars as they come flying around the corner once more. And here he is then, Mr. Dan Wareham, who I guess must have had some issues earlier on in the race, and there's already a car around there. That's Michael Walters, who has unfortunately spun, and we've lost John Kenny as well. Apologise for any inconvenience there in interruption with the broadcast. It may have looked a little bit choppy as these cars come through the corner, because the amount of cars that were coming through. But speaking of coming through, Dan Wareham comes on the inside there of Chris Moore and gets the job done straight on to the back of Craig Gorish. Well, he has some battling to do to get up to this man, who's the next one in the pros, and that is Jack M. Holland there in the Greg's livery, coming around the final corner now. The long sweeping right-hander onto the home straight, and just in front of him we do have Neil Kennedy, and then in front of that is Frederick as well. So some big names to try and catch up to for Mr. Dan Wareham, and he definitely has a job on his hands to get that done. But top 6 reverse grid, so remember Neil Kennedy as it stands is currently sitting in P1 for the second race, so but a long way to go. Yeah, he's only done a 10th of the race so far, with 2 minutes lapsed, and these guys will be looking at lap times of just under 2 minutes, I imagine, around this course, with the racing action that is yet to come. Scott McFall is trying to take the battle to Tom Bland. He's taken back his lead, and he's now sitting in P1 in the know-how car just in front there. And this battle in general is going to be a tight one, because the battle for P1 and P2 is about as close as P3 and P4, with the 332 and 343 car there fighting it out as they come into the braking zone for that right-hander up the hill. And once again the lead looks like it's almost about to change here again at Rudskogen, and I don't think it is just yet. Scott McFall has just enough in the tank to keep Tom at bay, and it's not going to be an easy job to maintain that over the next few laps, no doubt, because these drivers do look quick and they look quite punchy as well, like they want to get the job done early and try and pull away. But with these cars so evenly balanced, there's not going to be much in it at all. I believe it is an open tuning setup as well, so that could be the only thing that splits these cars apart. And a 132.4 is the quickest time for Raz Harper there, so he's gone the quickest, and he's the back of this pack of 4 as we go around onto the back straight for what is lap number 3 as it's listed down there. But you can see Scott McFall is getting a little bit of an advantage now at the moment. You see Dan Wareham has moved up a couple of places there, and there's a familiar looking livery. I've seen that a couple of times in multiple different places. Scott Kostrick just up in front in his traditional comic livery. Good to see him once again out on circuit as they come into the braking zone. Can Dan Wareham get the move done? Again, these guys aren't in the same class, but they're fighting for the points, I believe. I will get a definite answer for you on that as they come through into the S's now. And what we'll do is exactly the same as we've done before. We'll bring you up your track map, and I apologise that the Aqua Twist logo and the track map are slightly overlapping. We will get that fixed for you next time. But you can see the cars on track there. You can see where the bunching really is as Dan Wareham makes that move and gets by. Can Scott Kostrick do the same on Jordan Hadfield, another familiar name there, who is on the inside line, then jumps back onto line and keeps Scott at bay. There is the other Hadfield. We do have multiple people out there, multiple different families, because you will see a couple of different surnames that are going to be the same. Scott McFall and Tom Bland once again side by side at the minute, bumping each other's doors, letting each other know that they're there, and 1 minute 32.3 is the quickest time, and that is for Tom Bland. So he has gone through into turn 2 onto the back straight. Now he does have that momentum advantage, and it looks like he's got his car well and truly in front now. They're still corner to corner though, and I think Scott McFall might bring it back because that time is going down. Can Scott McFall carry that momentum on the outside into the braking zone? Is he going to have enough that he needs to get the car around? I thought he could go for the switchback, but it's way too late to do that now, so he's going to have to settle for P2 round that long corner there into the deep braking zone on the downhill action. And jumping back to Raz Harper, who previously had got the fastest lap, he is still sitting in P4 waiting to make that move into P3. Maybe he doesn't quite have the speed to do it, so might have to jump a bit later on the old brakes there as well. Now here's something else that we'll bring you as well. There is your battle box then, and this battle box will show you the details of the battles that we are looking at. It's quite a cool little feature. What we'll do is we'll bring up their car numbers for you so you can see who is who out there as well, if you want to match up the numbers rather than the names. Vincent Vaught, unfortunately, we're having reports that he has crashed, and it looks like he has fallen a little way back now as well. Michael Walters trying to play the catch-up game at the moment. The number 84, the Tiger livery there. I believe that is a Tiger anyway. I'm not the best with my animals. There is the boss man, John Johnston, coming up the home straight with Terry Atkinson at the moment just in behind. And Stuart Briley, Chris Moore and Craig Corish having a little battle just up ahead. You can see there. Craig Corish is in the middle at the moment of these cars, and he's actually losing to Adrian Hadfield in front, who is slightly pulling away now as they come up the back straight. Chris Moore down 2 positions, as you can see on the battle box in the bottom right corner, in that Kazoo livery, P18, car number 32. Coming around into the right-hand braking zone, that is slightly downhill, and that's going to cause some form of effect on the performance of these vehicles into the braking zone as well. But they come around through the S's once more. And for what has been nearly 10 minutes in this session already, we've had some fantastic overtakes and position changes thus far. And what we'll do is we'll show you exactly who's where. So you can see at the top of your screen there, you can see who is leading each class at the minute. Scott Brown is the leader for the AMS, and here is Scott Brown now racing for the Tanso Racing Group team. And yeah, he's currently P10 overall, but he's leading his class. And we have Frederick here, who is in the matte black livery, and he is leading his class. And looks like Jack Holland possibly going for a move up on the inside, and he does so because unfortunately Neil Kennedy missed the braking zone a little bit there, and possibly under attack from Dan Forster as well. And Dan Forster does make it through and get by him there, so he's got a bit of a slowdown, I believe. But Frederick is the lead for his class, and then obviously we have Tom Bland, who's leading the race but also leading the pros at the moment. So that is as it stands for the classes at the moment. But the closest battle on your screens now is Tim Walters and Scott Kostrick. There was only a couple of attempts of a second between those two, and there's a couple of battles out there that are very, very close, and this is one of them. Scott Kostrick needs to do all he can to keep Tom, I believe it's Tim, I don't know if it's Tim or Tom Walters, but we'll call him Mr. Walters behind, because unfortunately his name's just listed down as TM, so maybe that is his name, maybe that is, but I would not know how to pronounce that, so we're just going to call him Mr. Walters. Looks like Scott McFall has McFallen down the grid, as he's now down into P7, so he's dropped down 6 places, and that opens up the space for Tom Bland then. And see if I have any reports on what happened to him. I don't. So Scott McFall possibly getting a cheeky slowdown around this course as these cars fly around once more. And there is the no-hull livery there of Scott McFall. Dan Wareham still pushing his way up. You can see there in the background, he's getting onto the back of this queue of cars now, and he moves up on the inside. A lovely clean overtake on top of Scott Brown there. So possibly trying to do his own last to first challenge, and so far it's going very, very well. He's made his way back up to P10. I don't think he was quite last on the grid, but he was amongst the last couple of cars, so we'll count that either way for Dan's sake, as he is slowly making his way back up the field. You can see the time is going down between him and Neil Kennedy rather quickly, because Neil Kennedy was involved in a slight battle there with Lee Rylance, another familiar name that I've seen a couple of times before in the Tanso Racing Group livery as well, with the Aqua sponsor. Remember, the Season 9 is sponsored by Aqua Twist, and a fantastic opportunity not only for Aqua Twist but for Tanso Racing Group as well to link together and get the sponsorship for the season squashed and sorted. So a wonderful job for those. At the minute though, Jack Holland is having to try and get on the accelerator as quickly as he possibly can to get past Frederick, but it's not going to be an easy job at all. Now these guys are in different classes, however they're still going to want that bragging rights in the overall position, and obviously these guys are racing drivers, so that is exactly what they're going to do. So Jack Holland is going to try and push up, but he does have to be careful because in his mirrors is Dan Forster, and that's not going to be an easy driver to keep back at all there for those guys. In the Greg's livery though, P5 overall, trying to move up into P4. You can see Vincent Vaught just on the outside there. He is unfortunately a lap down, so he's trying to keep out of the mix of the cars. So you can see these guys are going to have to take the inside line to get around him. And he might go a little earlier on the brakes just to let them all by, and I think, yeah, he's actually taken a much, much wider line, so these guys can go flying by. And there's Frederic trying to get his car turned around that final corner, which again is not the easiest job to do in that downhill segment there. Now these battles are starting to come closer and closer together as Adrian Hadfield has made the move on Stuart Brierley and got by him up into P17 now for Adrian there, and not a bad little change for him in terms of position. So a good little move for him to push his way up, but Scott Brown still leads the way for the AMS at the moment, and Dan Wareham has moved up another position yet again. So he is slowly claiming his positions back, and he's claiming his time back as well. And it looks like Mr. Forster up here is having a bit of a pickle with Holland, and Forster has got by, and it looks like he's going to go flying by as well. Frederic possibly got some. I thought maybe had some damage there. There's a lot of smoke coming off, but I think that's actually just dirt from the tyres that was flying off there. But Dan Forster has made it through, and oh, there's a car on the infield there. Slowed right down. I think that car is also a lap down. I think that's John Kenny back there. That certainly is. He's sticking offline and completely off the track there for a moment, letting all these guys by. And Dan Forster unfortunately concedes a position to Scott McFall, who pushes his way up. There he is, as he makes his way around the 371 car. Great move up the inside for him. Now let's go back to Dan Forster, who now has to try and get a bit of a shift on to catch that P4 position back, and possibly trying to look at the podium, but it's getting on a bit now. It's only it's under 7 minutes remaining, 6.5 just to go before we conclude the first race here this evening. There we go, you can see all the times have gone yellow now pretty much. Dan Wareham being the closest battle out there. And it's just saying that Neil Kennedy currently going for the battles, I guess, if you'd like, as he's just having a quick one-on-one with Lee Rylands, who's just lost a position to him. So he's unfortunately fallen down by one, as Neil Kennedy prevails and pushes up the grid in that Fox livery. Let's jump to Mark Brown, who's not too far off that P2 position. And I'm sure you can all see that picture in the bottom left corner. I'm not exactly going to describe what is in that photo, but I'm sure that you can put your mind to it and work it out yourself. Dan Wareham at the minute putting all the pressure on Frederic, who unfortunately lost the lead of his class to Dan Forster, who has made it through. Now can Wareham do the same, make it by him and start pushing his way up the grid? He's a quick driver, and at the minute this is slowing him down. With only 5 minutes to go, not a ton of time to catch that podium spot. I think the podium is going to be out of reach for Mr. Wareham now, but he can get a little closer and possibly get the reverse grid pole position, because it is P6 that he needs. So it is Frederic's position at the moment. So let's see if Fred can defend this position basically with his life, is what he's going to need to do for the remaining minutes of this race. Mark Brown still only 3 attempts off the car in front, and he's trying to get up to that P2 of Raz Harper, and a fantastic livery on Raz Harper's car there just in front. Here they are then coming into turn 1, into that left-hander. A slight bit of braking is needed, not too much, because you can carry a lot of momentum, then round into the long right-hand as they go on to the back straight. Here they go then down the back straight at the moment. Let's go back to Mr. Wareham and see if he has made it by. Yeah, it doesn't look like he has, unfortunately. Here is the on-board view with Mr. Wareham, and you can see how close these cars really are into the braking zone. And no doubt Daniel is going a little later on the brakes and trying to stick his nose up on the inside. He goes so far on the inside, he's put 2 wheels on the infield, on the grass there. And I don't know if that will contribute to a slowdown for him or not, but no doubt it wasn't that far away. 373 car, really trying to push up the field as quick as possible. And speaking to someone that's trying to do things as quick as possible, this man, Mr. Matt Brown, is looking to try and get onto that P2 podium spot. Might not be the win, because it'll be this gentleman here that's absolutely run away with it. You can see there the gap between P1 and P2. But yeah, Tom Bland is now flying thanks to the earlier error, shall we say. And that was an unfortunate error for Scott McFall, but nevertheless it still happened, and it's something that he's going to have to try and recover from. But there's not much time left to go in this race, so there's not a lot that he can really do about it, as Mark Brown does fall down from the rear end of his opponent there. And Dan Wareham looking to push up on the inside. Does he have the inside line? Has he got his nose side by side? He certainly does, as he goes a little earlier on the brakes. And there goes Frederick. I think Frederick's lost 2 positions there. He has. Jack Holland has made his way through as well. So now Dan Forster is the only person within the pros that isn't a pro. Dan Forster being a pro-am, he's currently sitting there. He is the imposter of that class, as these guys come rocketing through into the downhill right-hander. Dan Wareham now sitting in that P1 reverse grid spot of the top 6. So the question now sits, for the last 2 minutes of this race, will Dan Wareham sit in this position and defend it, or is he going to try and push on and get up to P5 and just try and get that extra point or two, because he's still going to be on the front row of the grid even if he does finish in P5. So that will be the question, and very, very soon we will have an answer for you. Neil Kennedy at the moment trying to put the battles towards Lee Ryland, and he's currently in a Tanso Racing Group sandwich there, the Lee Ryland car with the lime green wheels, and then just behind that, as we have Neil Kennedy. Then we have Scott Brown in behind that as well with the black wheels on that Tanso Racing Group livery car there. 132.1 was a quick time for Scott McFall. It's one of his quicker times, but it's not the quickest of the race this far, so it's only a green time there. And then Scott Brown's going to try and get on the inside. He does get on the inside, but Neil Kennedy holds it very well. I think he's the first person we've seen successfully to hold it on the outside and keep his position without going wide off track or even slightly spinning the car. So a wonderful job for him indeed, as Scott Brown does sit back in his place in the sandwich, which is the bottom side of the sandwich, the bottom piece of bread, as some people would like to call it. Let's get the track map up so you can see there exactly where people are. This is where your leader is, on that right hand hairpin, as he goes up the uphill section into the slight left kink in the straight there, and then into the left hand 90-degree corner into the final 2 turns. Now the question is he going to make it across the line in time? And it's going to hit the 20 mark there. I believe this could be the end, basically. We're on board with your leader now, and yeah, it looks like it is going to be the end of the race here then. And there goes your leader across the line and spinning out actually across the line there. And Mark Brown makes his way into P3 and gets across the line beautifully as well. And what we'll do is we'll sit here with Barney waving his magical flag, waiting for all the guys to come across the line to finish off race number 1. And that reverse grid pole does go to Dan Wareham, who wasn't far off Dan Forster, so maybe he was pushing for that extra position. But he will get that reverse grid pole, which will be ideal for him indeed. And we'll just wait for Vincent Vaught to come around, and he'll be the final car to finish this race of 20 minutes. 14 laps for the opening race. So no doubt we'll be sitting here and looking at about 16 to 18 laps for race 2, with that extra 5 minutes of time as well. What we'll do is, getting a bit ahead of ourselves there, Heat 2 results. We don't have them yet, but Heat 1 results are as follows. Tom Bland finishes in P1, so he gets that first golden medal basically for Season 9. Raz Harper P2, and then Mark Brown P3 overall. Then we have Scott McFall in P4. Dan Forster, he finished P5 overall, but remember, he got his P1 for his class. Then we have Dan Ware in P6. Jack Holland P7. Then we have Frederic, who finished P8 overall, but P2 in his class. Lee Rylands, P9, but P3 in his class. And then we have Neil Kennedy. Then we have Scott Brown, who won his class of the AMS. Then Peter Duke in P2 for the AMS. And then Jordan Hadfield in P3 for the AMS, but P11, 12, and 13 overall. Then we have Craig Corish, P14. Scott Kostrick, P15, and then we have Chris Moore, P16. Adrian Hadfield, P17 there. Then Stuart Briley, P18. We're going to say Tom Walters, P19, Michael Walters, P20, and then we have Terry Atkinson, P21, John Johnston, P22, Vincent Vaught, P23, and I believe that is Mr. Kenny in P24. So that is all, that is Neil Kennedy. Is it Kenny or Kennedy? That is Kenny, I believe. Yes, John Kenny, there we go. So yeah, that was John Kenny at the back of the grid there, unfortunately. But here we are then, we're in a 5-minute warm-up session. So this is a chance for you guys at home to either put your feet up and get a drink, get some to eat before we get into the second race. And also, don't forget that this is a good time to drop a like on the stream. And if you're enjoying it that much, go share it out with your friends and anyone that might want to watch some racing. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. We do have 8 rounds of fantastic racing to bring to you then over the course of this season, before we hit the magical double figures of Season 10. But that is a long way away. Yeah, we still have 7 rounds after this to go before then, and 7 rounds of heated racing, which hopefully these drivers can really maximise the points and finish in their desired positions and get across with the rewards that they want. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of minute break, and the commentary will resume when we are ready to bring your grid lineup for race 2. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have returned, and we will be waiting for the grid results for race 2. And they will be with us any moment now as we get ready for the second race to kick off. The results for the one session come through, and here comes the grid. So Dan Wareham is leading the way in P1, then Dan Forster P2, Scott McFall P3, Mark Brown P4, Raz Harper P5, Tom Bland P6, Jack Holland P7, Frederick in P8, Lee Rylance P9, Neil Kennedy P10. Then we have Scott Brown P11, Peter Duke P12, and then going down the grid we have P13 for Jordan Hadfield. There are Craig Corish P14, Scott Kostrick, Chris Moore, Adrian Hadfield, Stuart Briley, Tim Walters, Michael Walters, Terry Atkinson, John Johnson, and Vincent Vaught and John Kenny there as well. Let's move over to the starting position, then your start cam here on your leader. As you can see there, first car on your screens, Dan Wareham leads us for the 25-minute race here. Second race this evening for the Tanso Racing Group Season 9 and the season opener as well, as we wait for the 5 lights to get up, and there they go, and we are underway. Bit of tyre smoke there for your leader as we watch all the cars take off from the grid. Go back towards your leader then, and it looks like this could be a three-way battle going into turn 1 and 2, but it's not. It's going to go between Scott McFall and Dan Forster there, and Scott McFall is going to be on the outside line, unfortunately, but can he carry extra momentum as Dan Wareham does move off into the distance already, being 1 second in the lead. Doesn't sound like a lot, but on the start grid, when everyone's going to be battling, it certainly is going to be a lot. As you see, Scott McFall takes an extra wide line around that corner there, and that gives the rights to Mark Brown to move up, and he pushes up into P3. A familiar position for him. We've seen him here before. Now, can he get that move done on Dan Forster and get to P2 and try and close the gap to Dan Wareham in front? Is it going to be possible? That is the question. Let's go a bit further down the grid. At the moment, Vincent Vaught and John Kenny are battling out between those two towards the back of the grid. Here we have Mr. John Johnston as well, the big boss man who nearly had to deal with an attack from Terry Atkinson. In fact, goes wide. I think there's almost intimidation tactics from Terry Atkinson as John Johnston comes through on the inside and takes the advantage over Mr. Johnson there. Raz Harper is getting the job done as best as he possibly can on Frederick, but it's not an easy job to do, and concedes the position as Frederick does push up in that matte black car into P7 there for him. Dan Wareham sets the quickest lap time there. You can see the long single file queue of cars behind Dan Wareham, and this seems to be where the pack starts, just behind Mr. Forster, the car number 200. As he is leading his class at the moment then. So for the Pro-Am category, he is leading that at the moment with a P2 overall. Mark Brown and Tom Bland going at it. Tom Bland rockets through past Mark Brown, unfortunately sending him down a position into P4 then. As these cars come around and through the S's. They come around the left-hander in towards the right-hand hairpin. Scott Brown is moving down the order. Let's see what's going on here. Scott Brown's facing the wrong way on the infield and having to turn his car around there. Gets the wheels spun up a bit on the dirt. Raz Harper does get the overtake done on Frederick there as well. So Raz does move up now, 1 second behind the cars in front in that year 1 car for him. As again we come round for going on to lap number 3, and that's the first 3 minutes already been and gone. 25-minute race overall, remember, so they got an extra 5 minutes to get the job done here at Rudskogen for the second time of this evening. But 32.4 is the quickest lap time overall for Tom Bland, who is trying to push his way up the field, and well, in fact he's got to play the catch-up game now really. 1.8 seconds behind the leader, and it's still going up. So is Dan Wareham a force to be reckoned with this season? Don't forget, guys, another little shout out for the Tanso team and for this year's sponsor, or this season's sponsor, Aqua Twist 100% natural water. So great little thing they've got going on there, sponsoring a quality league with some good drivers in it, and a good amount of drivers too at that. And speaking of a good amount of drivers, one of them is Tom Bland, who's trying to go into the back of Scott McFall. There, a little bit of rivalry between those two after what we've seen in race 1, them battling out nice and hard all throughout the session so far. So fantastic between those two. A great form of entertainment for all of you watching at home, seeing these guys go side by side and into the corners. A bit sort of, I would almost say, street boy racer like, you know, pulling out the moves that you wouldn't expect them to pull out, really, as they come around onto the home straight once more. And that extra 5 minutes they had has already been and gone, so that's how quick that time does go down. Very quick indeed around this circuit. So they do have to make sure that they get fully, well, get the full amount out of their cars that they can in this short time they have to get the jobs done. And speaking of getting the job done, John Johnson looking to try and get the overtake on Terry Atkinson here. Can he do it around the outside of turn 1? No. Does he hold the inside line for turn 2? He does. Can he get that momentum? No, nowhere near, in fact, as Terry does keep that pace going, and he excels away from Mr. Johnson, who's seen the back of that Terry's chocolate orange car there. And I'll tell you what, if I was behind that car, it'd be making me awfully hungry, because all I'll be thinking about is the Terry's chocolate orange, so that would really put me off my racecraft. So fair play for Mr. Johnson for actually doing that, because I certainly wouldn't be, put it that way. As you see, Scott McFall at the moment trying to take the battle to Dan Forster. And we've seen Scott McFall really get in amongst it in race 1. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a slip up. However, he seems to have recovered from that from race 1. And is trying to make amends in this second race here. But it looks like Dan Wareham, looks like your leader has already been settled with how far he's getting away. It's nearly 4 seconds, the gap now between Dan Wareham and Dan Forster. So if these pros want to catch Mr. Wareham, they really do need to dispose of Dan Forster as quick as possible. He may be in the Pro-Am category, but he's matching their pace though. So I don't think he's slowing down that much. Mark Brown being the quickest car out of that pack, and there's a bit of side-by-side. Almost a bit of aggression there from Scott McFall, really trying to push his way on the inside of Dan Forster there, who unfortunately does lose 2 positions. Through goes Tom Bland on the back straight there. He's going to completely shut him out and sit in front of him into the braking zone. And I believe here are 2 cars that are teammates, Mr. Mark Brown and Dan Forster, who are going to go side by side through the long right-hander, and still side by side do they remain into the S's. Dan Forster does take the initiative and take the advantage. Oh, the Greg's sausage roll has gone spinning off of the track, and unfortunately on the sand. That is Jack Holland. Unfortunately, he has gone onto the sand and lost quite a few positions down into P14 now. He was fighting up there at a good rate of pace, and unfortunately he's dropped off a little bit now. Frederick having to do some defensive on the outside line. Oh, wheels spinning up a little bit there for Raz Harper, but he does well to keep it under control. Now Raz is going to be side by side with Lee Rylands, and Lee Rylands trying to keep the inside line, does so, but loses momentum now to Neil Kennedy, who also makes it through onto the back of Raz Harper's car there. So now these guys are going to be bunching up, and then we have Mr. Walters, who is getting in amongst it as well in the German looking livery there. P13 overall for Mr. Walters. And what we'll do once more is we'll bring up that track map to show you exactly where people are on the track. You can see the gap between P1 and P2 is almost a quarter of that back straight there. And once again, I do apologise for the track map being a little too close to the logo there, and unfortunately being slightly cut off. We will get that sorted for you for next week out. All kinds of battles going on at the minute, and someone that's kind of leading a section of cars that are well spaced out is Craig Corish. not having too many issues with Peter Duke behind him. Not too many at all, about a second between the two. Mark Brown is currently fighting with Mr. Forster, and unfortunately Forster has dropped back just a little bit, and Mark Brown prevails once more. Raz Harper and Kennedy going side by side once again. Kennedy making it through, and Raz Harper, he's really struggling with that car coming out of that right-hander hairpin, because you can see it does keep spinning up by the looks of it on the outside of that corner. A bit of door-to-door action there, and a little bit of contact, I think, as well, as we saw Mr. Kennedy's car taking a bit of a weird effect around that corner, which would imply that there was a slight bit of contact made. The quality priced meal of the Greg's livery car there is going through once more up into P12, pushing his way back up the grid. Now there's a bit of a catch-up game to do, 2.3 seconds to the next car ahead. Scott McFall is slightly closing that gap now from 4 seconds to 3.5. So maybe Dan Wareham had a little bit of a slip-up somewhere, because that's half a second down the drain now as well. So that's something to keep a close eye on. Jordan Hadfield having to do anything he possibly can to defend from Mr. Walters behind him. And there's Scott Kostrick just behind that as well, as these guys go side by side into the right-hander towards the S's, still side by side pretty much. Hadfield is going to take the advantage and the initiative to go through in front there into the S's, and maintains that momentum very, very well for the car 77 as he comes down towards the right-hander hairpin now. A fantastic bit of racecraft there to keep that car momentum going, and they're going very strong at that as well. And this car on your screen is Mr. Walters' car. Now, I do apologise, Mr. Walters. I've called you Tim and Tom on multiple occasions. I don't know which one it is, if any. It could just be TM, I don't know. But, yeah, apologies if I've been butchering your name all this evening. As Raz Harper does move up past the matte black car of Mr. Frederic. Going back to Mr. Walters, actually. And he's now attacking the other Hadfield, and that is Jordan Hadfield just up in front. I say the other Hadfield, this is the one he's been attacking all along. I'm now getting the Hadfields confused with all the family members we do have out there with the same surname. There is quite a few I saw on the lineup, so there will be some people to watch, because that will make dinner with the family rather interesting. See, the battles at the moment aren't getting terribly close. All the drivers are staying fairly similar to each other. One person is trying to make a difference. It's Neil Kennedy at the moment, and unfortunately I think that's John Kenny in the background going off track once more. And there we go, Raz has gone around once again, and unfortunately Neil Kennedy does make contact, which spins both drivers out. Let's stick with Neil Kennedy. How many positions is he going to lose? He goes to spin the car around, and Hadfield really did have to take some evasive manoeuvres there to get around him. And unfortunately, Kennedy moves down to P16 overall. And, oh, no, unfortunately, the Greg's car of Mr. Holland has spun and gone into the wall. Looks like possibly got some wheels on the grass towards the exit of the corner there, and that's dragged him in towards the wall and spun on the exit of that turn there. Tom Bland towards the top. 2/10 is all that splits Tom Bland and McFall. Now, we saw this battle in race 1. These guys are quick. They've dropped a second that was built up by Dan Wareham between those P1 and P2 spots. They've managed to squash a whole second of it and still going down. So these guys could go into a three-way battle in the last minutes of this race. 13 minutes have lapsed in total so far out of the 25. 5 extra minutes from race 1. And you can see there's still a big train from P11 all the way to P16. All relatively close together at the moment. And speaking of being close together, This man is probably the closest out of all of them. Neil Kennedy trying to see if he can stick his nose up on the inside of Adrian Hadfield's car. Doesn't do so. Instead makes contact with the rear end, which sends sends Mr. Hadfield's car a bit squirrely on the exit of the corners there. But he's going to take the inside line and try and hold off Mr. Kennedy. It's not going to be an easy job to do, because Kennedy will have that slight momentum advantage around the outside, and he keeps that car nice and neat actually going around there, maintains that momentum and slingshots in front of Hadfield's car as he pulls away from Adrian there, going into the final turn and coming around onto the home straight. Battle between P1 and P2 still going on, still staying equidistant at the minute. Not much is changing between these two thus far. So as it stands, Scott McFall does lead the way in front of Tom Bland, but just in front of that is your race leader overall, Mr. Dan Wareham, 373. Obviously having a fantastic second race after that early incident, making all those positions back again, and now to be dominating this race as well. And I think Tom Bland may have made a little mistake somewhere, because now the gap has extended to 1.2 seconds. Craig Corish now getting on the movements here, 2/10 away. Just as I say that, it looks like Jordan Hadfield has conceded a position, and on the inside grass there, almost two cars coming together on the exit there as they slightly spun the back corners out just a little bit into a slight form of a drift, as Jordan Hadfield does try and put the pressure back on Mr. Walters there in front. And it looks like Walters will pull away ever so slightly, going to another Walters vehicle. Michael Walters back here in the Tiger livery car, unfortunately having a little bit of a slip earlier in race 1. I believe looking to take the advantage in race 2 and climb his way back up the field then. As we look at the timing tower, we see Scott Kostrick is the man at the moment to watch in this sandwich right now, with Jordan Hadfield in front. I said in front, and not anymore. Scott Kostrick does get his nose in front of Hadfield's vehicle there, and it's going to go 3 wide potentially as well, because don't forget you have Neil Kennedy on the back of this battle as well. So Scott Kostrick, Mr. Hadfield and Kennedy all amongst it here then, as Scott Kostrick does drop out just a little bit. Hadfield did go through, but then off track, out of limits and possibly getting a slowdown, but he's rejoined and unfortunately lost a few positions. And it would have been battle of the Hadfields, but I think Chris Moore is going to get between the two. And in fact he just about does so, as Chris Moore does come through and makes it into the filling of the Hadfield sandwich. Now the question is, who is the quicker, Hadfield, Adrian or Jordan? That's a question that we all want answered, and we all will have an answer very, very soon, within the next 8 minutes. There's not long to go at all. This has absolutely flown by tonight, just like some of these guys going around out on track at the moment. But I still need to re-emphasise, we're down to the last, sorry, I was about to say 6 minutes. I think it is 6, isn't it? No, it's not. It's oh, my maths. Just ignore me, everyone watching live and anyone watching this back. I completely got that wrong, even though I just said we're coming down to our final 8 minutes. I completely ignored myself. But with 8 minutes to go, this gentleman right here, Scott McFall, has got the gap down to 1.7, half of what we saw earlier on. So that is a key point to look out for, as Peter Duke, he is in amongst it at the minute with Craig Corish and Raz Harper as well. Raz is really trying to get that car nailed in some of these exits, as you can see it spinning up. They're going to make it 3 wide. What a beautiful shot that would be for any of the photographers in and around the world of iRacing here tonight, as Peter Duke does bow out of the battle and Raz Harper still goes at it. Now the question is, we're coming up to that corner, which is a bit of a bogey corner for Raz Harper. That's a corner that really does get that back end spinning for him. Let's look at the YouTube chat right here. Jordan Hadfield has a beautiful livery on his car. It certainly does indeed. We'll jump back to Jordan in just a second so we can get another look at that, seeing as you pointed that out very nicely. And there goes Raz Harper on the inside, gets the position done nice and easy on Craig Corish and sits there in front of this pack of 3. Going to Jordan Hadfield then. There is that livery. We can get a bit of a closer view here as car number 17 does have a rather nice, I believe that's anime livery. Different colours to what you're used to seeing, no doubt, on some race cars. Obviously, normally they're quite bright and vibrant with like their greens and reds and things, but this is like a almost pastel-like colour, so it's a slight change from the norm on these cars. And speaking of battles, the other Hadfield here, Adrian Hadfield, and a more familiar Hadfield-looking livery, I've seen that one before, is moving up into P13 by Scott Kostrick. Just as I say that, Neil Kennedy moves up as well and leaves Walters behind. Possibly a slowdown for Walters or just a lack of momentum going up the back straight as we head towards the final 5 minutes now. Not long left at all. Now let's jump back here because this is the battle that could happen on the last couple of laps of this race. It's 9/10 of a second. It's within a second. Dan Wareham was absolutely off like a shot in this race. 4 seconds clear, and now it's down to 9/10 of a second. So there's not much in it whatsoever. Now, when Scott McFall does battle Dan Wareham, will that bring Tom Bland into battle? And that is the question that we will have an answer for you very, very soon, no doubt. Within the next 5 minutes, we would hope. But you never know, Dan Wareham might do enough to keep him at bay. I don't think Stuart Briley wanted anything to do with that battle as he lets Johnston through with Michael Walters as well. Kind of just wanting to stay clear, I think, of what was going on there. Saw them having a good battle and decided to watch instead. Obviously, for anyone watching in the YouTube chat, please do make sure you just drop a like on the stream. It takes all of 2 seconds to do. Drop a like, do share it, and subscribe as well if you're new around here. You'll be seeing some racing content from the Tanso Season 9 GR86 League each week, so make sure you are here for that. 8 rounds of fantastic racing. This is number 1. 7 more to go after this, so some fantastic racing yet to come. All comes down to this for these drivers then. Scott McFall half a second away from Dan Wareham. There's not much time in it whatsoever, and it's getting down to the wire now. We're getting into what a lot of people tend to call Fergie time, and it's going to be a really interesting finish between these two because the pace is ever so similar. If anything, I think Scott McFall is just a little quicker. Let's look at the lap times. 1:32.4 for Dan Wareham, 1:32.1 for Scott McFall. So that is the difference. 1:32.7 for Tom Bland. So he is dropping back just ever so slightly. So it is going to be very interesting indeed. Now let's have a little look at the YouTube chat again. The pink colour represents the Japanese cherry blossom / Sakura tree. Ah, yes, I am familiar with this actually. I am familiar with that indeed. And you can get some really nice patterns actually out of the cherry blossom trees. Very nice patterns indeed. Chris Moore and Jack Holland at the moment battling it out. And no doubt will be till the final whistle goes here as Mr. Holland does move up on the inside. That Greg's livery car there does just about get in front. Does he pick up a slowdown though? Possibly going off track there as Chris Moore does take that position back and moves on up. Scott Brown did take advantage there as well. Now here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the battle for the lead. And it's getting ever so close now. 2/10 is all that splits these two cars. And this really must have the adrenaline pumping for Scott McFall, as this is the 23rd minute of this race. There is not long to go. This is the view on board within half a second on to the home straight of this circuit. No Barney on this lap, so he knows he's got at least this lap and one more to go to try and get this lead of the race. It's not going to be an easy job to do at all, but this will be the battle that we now focus on till the end of the race. Can Scott McFall get the job done? Back markers are going to come into play, and that's possibly possibly just ruin the end of the race. Who knows? Unfortunately there, car number 24, John Kenny, does get in the way just a little bit, but that hasn't actually affected much of the pace at all for Scott McFall. The distance is still the same between the two cars, so you know what, that's let John Kenny off the hook just a little bit. But at the same time, Scott McFall taking the outside line around there. It's an interesting line. I suppose he didn't go up the inside and follow the race leader. Nevertheless, they're still on the back of each other, so the battle still goes on into the last minute of this 25-minute race 2 of season 9. And this is what it does come down to indeed. These two cars battling it out. Tom Blunt is slowly being brought into the action here, but there's not many corners to go of this lap. They do have one more to go. And, oh, is he going for the move there? Scott McFall getting his nose up on the inside. Does he get it there? They're so close. They're still side by side. Scott McFall does have his nose in front, but only momentarily, as Mr. Wareham is going to have the inside line. Can Scott McFall get the cutback? He does come swinging back in. Late apex into that corner as he comes down onto the straight in this sandwich now. And these cars really are all together. You can see here how close they are indeed, and the white flag you see at the top of your screen is out from Barney as these guys are side by side once again. Scott McFall this time picking what was the correct line. Can he get that advantage over Mr. Wareham? Wareham does have the momentum now onto the back straight. This is still a 3-car battle for the lead into the last lap. And I have a funny feeling if things carry on, this is how it's going to be all season long. These 3 cars battling out for the race win. And Dan Wareham still on the outside line. Can Scott McFall carry enough momentum on the inside to keep his nose in front? He does. He's well and truly in front. You can fit almost another car between the two in P1 and P2. It's coming into the S's now. Going slightly on the green work there. No off tracks for that at all. You just got to be careful because sometimes you can overshoot that and take a little too much, but this time they haven't done so, and they've gotten away with it. Scott McFall is currently sitting as your leader in the know-how car there. Into the right-hander hairpin. There is a back marker coming up just up the road and possibly coming into play in these last few corners, but it looks like they might not. They might get to the line before they hit that back marker. Is there a bit of a slowdown for Scott McFall, or did his car bog down a little bit there on the exit of that hairpin? Because all of a sudden Dan Wareham is right on the back end of him. Now here is what it comes down to. This final turn. It looks clean so far. There is the checkered flag, and here come your racers. There's a bit of blinking for Scott McFall, but I think he's going to take this race victory. He certainly is. Dan Wareham's not going to get in front of him, and Tom Bland finishes P3. So those guys finishing all almost side by side. 3-way finish pretty much there. So incredible for those. And unfortunately, Raz Harper having a little bit of a flip towards the end of the race there. In similar areas to where he's been having troubles all race really. He's been having the issues on the right-hander hairpin, but this is a bit later on that he's had this issue in the track, as we just wait for the rest of the cars to finish. Let's jump right down to the start cam. And that'll be Terry Atkinson who will finish off this race for us, I believe. As we let the rest of the grid come across the line to finish off what has been 2 fantastic races of this evening indeed. As the P22 car is coming around into view now. There is John Kenny there getting back underway, going in towards the final corner. And you will see Mr. Terry Atkinson, there he goes, coming onto your screen. And not too sure where John Kenny's going. He's going in the pits. Finishing the race in the pits. And quite a battle for P1, says Renier. That was indeed. That was a really close battle. Right up until the end. And fantastic to watch as well. And there goes Mr. Terry Atkinson. So that was a fantastic race too. Let's bring your results then. And, well, we'll wait for them to come in first, because they don't seem to want to come in. They'll wake up in a second. Ah, here we go. Here we go. There we go. So Scott McFall does finish the race in P1. Dan Wareham 2/10 of a second behind that, and then Tom Bland 5/10 of a second behind the leader as well. So there's your top three. And then Dan Forster, unfortunately, just missing out on the overall podium spots by quite some margin. However, he got the P1 for his class, which is the Pro-Am category. Then we have Mark Brown P5, Frederick in P6, but obviously he got P2 in his class, and Lee Ryland's got P3 in his class, but P7 overall. Then we got Craig Corish, who got the P8 overall, but he finished in the podium spot, top podium spot for his AM class. And we have Raz Harper, Neil Kennedy there as well. And then we have Mr. Walters, who grabbed the P2 position. And I will confirm if that's Tim or Tom for the next round out. Then we have Adrian Hadfield securing that last podium spot for the AMs. And then the rest of the grid goes as follows. Scott Kostrick, followed by Jordan Hadfield. Peter Duke rounding off your top 15 there. Then we have Scott Brown, Jack Holland, as the grid goes further on. Then we have Chris Moore, Michael Walters, John Johnson, Stuart Briley, Terry Atkinson, Vincent Ford, and John Kenny there at the back as well. So that has been an absolutely fantastic couple of races that we've seen there. And top quality stuff from all these guys as well out on track. It's been a blessing to watch here tonight. And no doubt we will have some more fantastic racing for you. But what we'll do is we'll bring in Mr. Mark Brown. Good evening.
Good evening, Callum. How's things?
Ah, it's not bad, mate. Not bad. How are you after two fantastic season opening races? How'd you find it?
Yeah, just settling back into the GR again. Haven't raced it in a while, but P3 first race, couldn't really get anything on Raz in front of me. It was awkward trying to get past him. Now it's not an easy track. And then feature race, it was just amount of slowdowns I got and everything. So yeah, hey, it was all right. I'll take it. You know, good enough. Seems to be a good crowd of people there racing this evening. So yeah, it seemed to be clean enough up front. So
it certainly was. It was a good little good showing overall as well for the 24 car grid, but it was posing to be a bit of a tricky race in race one there for some people, and a fantastic comeback drive as well, with plenty of overtakes there for a certain someone. And what were your thoughts on race one?
It was okay. Daniel, on the start there, he lost, I think his computer glitched or something, so he hit the wall on the pit straight. I got a good start, so we got up into fourth, I think it was, and or third, whatever. But yeah, it seemed to be all right. Like, you know, it was 100%. So yeah, I can't complain now. So just try and improve for next week. It's kind of a Marmite track, Rudskogen, not one of my favourites now, in fairness. Very bouncy, very hard to keep the car planted or the weight on the nose. But yeah, I'd say everyone was sort of struggling a wee bit, I suppose, in a way. But on for the next one, I suppose, and see what we can do.
Yeah, well, obviously it's not terrible results for you in the first round out there. So pretty decent results for majority of people all round. But we go to Mid-Ohio next, and what are your thoughts on that track? I mean, I've been there recently with some other cars, and it's definitely an interesting one. It's not one I've been to much before, but it can pose for some good racing, and possibly 3 or even 4 cars wide with how small the GR86s are.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'd say there's going to be a lot of boys up front. It's going to be 3 and 4 wide, so I hope we can keep it clean and try our best. That's all we can do. So yeah, Scott McFall now is kind of a man on another mission. He's just a different level, I think. And you'll have Daniel up there too. So it should be interesting. It should be interesting.
It certainly will indeed. Well, we look forward to seeing you next round out as well at Mid-Ohio. But before we let you go, is there anyone you wish to give any shout-outs or thank yous to?
Tanso and yourself, cheers for coming back and broadcasting this for us. So I'll be looking forward to watching it back later on, or maybe tomorrow when you get a chance. And thank you very much. And yeah, okay. And all the rest of the racers out there too. It was nice and clean there. See me and Dan Foster and all, it was good respect. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see now what happens in the next one. So yeah, take care and thank you very much.
No, thank you. And like I say, we look forward to seeing you next week out. So have a good week, and we'll see you very, very soon.
Yep, take care.
Now, the next person we are going to bring in is Mr. Dan Forster. Now, Dan had a good second race there indeed, where he picked up a fantastic P1 spot for his class. So let's bring him into the booth now. And Dan, are you there? Welcome in.
Hello, I am. How are you doing?
Not bad, and I'm assuming you're not too bad yourself with a P4 overall, but a P1 in your class in the second race there. What a fantastic race you had.
Yeah, I'm quite shocked myself, to be honest, but yeah, pretty pleased with that. And no major incidents. Usually, there's something I'm involved in that's either my fault myself or an unlucky incident with someone else. But I managed to keep it clean, and yeah, happy with the result.
It was certainly a fantastic result for you. So you say it was a bit of a surprise. Are you not used to being this far up the grid then? Is this sort of like a rare occurrence for you?
Well, with the range of skill of the drivers involved here, I think it's normally pretty clean, but there's normally a lot of incidents with the guys who maybe don't have chance to do as much practice or aren't quite as experienced. But obviously, I have to give respect to the much faster drivers and not fight them too hard because they're just going to get past me anyway. There's no point ruining both our races. So usually, I mean, I do a lot of practice on the PCC races, and there's a lot of carnage in there, but. Usually in here it's much more respectful, and I just usually find I have bad luck. So yeah, I did all right last season. But yeah, I enjoy having a nice clean race, and hopefully that's what everybody else is aiming for.
I mean, there was a lot of good and clean racing out there, and it was good fun to watch as well. But Rudskogen, as Mark Brown described it just before we jumped in the booth with you, he said it was a bit of a Marmite track. Now, do you see that the same way? Do you have a different opinion on that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a track that you can get on with or you can't. Like, I'm not particularly fast around here, but once I've got to the point where I can be consistent, then that's half the battle with a lot of these races, is just trying to do consistent, clean laps, get through and not push too hard and make a mistake. And that's what I'm trying to concentrate on this season, to try and improve my chances, and hopefully it worked out today. But yeah, this track is definitely one of those. There's a couple of corners that will really bite you if you get them wrong. Going up over the top of after the S is the last corner. It's very light coming up over the top of the crest of the hill, and it's easy to spin there. And then obviously round, I don't know if is it called the carousel, but the big long right-hander, it's very easy to get a slow down there. Yeah. So there's a couple of corners that you can really get messed up with if you get them wrong. And that's why I think this track is definitely one of those tracks where you either love it or hate it.
Yeah, fully understandable. Now we go to Mid-Ohio next round out, and what are your feelings towards that track? Is that a track you've been around several times before, or is this something new for you?
No, to be honest, I bought it for this season of the PCC, which I race quite regularly. I've not raced there yet at all, but I hear it's quite a nice track. My teammate Dan Wareham, he loves it there, so he's saying that it should be enjoyable. So we'll see how it goes. But thankfully, well, like I say, with me racing it in PCC, I should get some practice in before the weekend, which is always a bonus. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it.
It certainly is a good track. I've seen some touring cars go around there recently, and it poses for potentially 3 to 4 cars wide with how small the GR86s are compared to that track. So you can get some very fast and very thrilling racing going on around there. But before we let you depart the booth, would you like to say any thank yous or give any shout outs to anyone before you leave us here tonight?
I'll just shout out to the SimTech boys. Some team tactics going on tonight. Everybody race nice and cleanly, and thanks to Tanso for hosting, and yourself for stepping up and doing the commentary. I haven't listened to it back yet, but I sure will be later on, and it sounds like you're doing a very good job, so good luck.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words, and yeah, hopefully you do enjoy, but feel free to give any feedback you like. But for now, we will wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you next round out at Mid-Ohio Centre. So yeah, enjoy your practice, and look forward to seeing you up on the Timing Tower next week out.
Cheers, looking forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. So that was Mr. Dan Forster then. So that is going to bring everyone's evening to a close here for the Tanso Racing Group Season 9 of this now. 9 fantastic seasons of the GR86 racing. And it doesn't end here, ladies and gentlemen. 7 rounds left to go. Obviously, if you want to get yourself involved, I don't think it's too late. Obviously, just if you've got that spare money in your pocket, come jump in. come enjoy yourself, all kinds of skill level. You'll find yourself a battle anywhere on the grid, and yeah, really hope that you enjoy the content that we see, and hopefully you enjoy the battle that we saw right at the end there for the lead. 3 cars in amongst it as well. The battle between Scott McFall, Dan Wareham and Tom Bland. I mean, who can't enjoy that? That's fantastic, all during race 1 and race 2. But for now, that is going to be it from me in the commentary, and we'll see you next week out at Mid-Ohio track. And yeah, we look forward to seeing all the races out there and having you guys come back and join us in the YouTube channel. But as always, what we're going to finish it on is the typical YouTube spiel of make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on, share the video, and make sure you follow Tanso on all forms of social media you have. The Discord links will be provided where needed as well, so if you want to get yourselves involved, please do. But from myself and on behalf of the team at the Tanso Racing Group, we wish you all a fantastic week, and we'll see you here next round out at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Centre. Thank you and goodbye.